I think overall there's a sort of sentiment, I guess, at least online, of like men versus women. This isn't a dating concept. Like in dating, it's like it's men versus women. It's like you either lose or you win. Either the man wins or loses, or the woman loses and wins. One of the two is gonna lose. One of the two is gonna win. Is it gonna be the woman who catches feelings first? Is it gonna be the man using her? It's very adversarial, this relationship, quote, relationship. One definition is this is intersexual competition, inter being like between species, or in this case between genders, right? Between men and women. Intersexual competition, men versus women, men competing against women, when that really is not the case. Like, men and women are not exactly enemies when it comes to dating. You don't really win anything. I mean, you can find elements of like, oh yes, I won. Yes, I got her to sleep with me after the first date. Didn't catch feelings at all. I used her like a flesh bag. I mean, you can call that winning. You could. I wouldn't. But the thing is, that's not healthy dating. The people who go through with that, the people who find themselves in relationships where the dynamic is men versus women, are toxic, right? Like, the men who find themselves with women who want their money are searching for the wrong women. The women who date the men who use them are dating the wrong men. It's not men versus women. Rather, it's intrasexual competition. Intra being within species, or in this case, within genders. In dating, it's always has been every man versus every other man, fighting for a woman. Every woman versus every other woman, fighting for a man. It's always been intrasexual competition. It's never been really intersexual competition. If you think about it, right? If it's intersexual, right, it means that the man is competing against the woman, but the things they need to get together. If the end goal is to reproduce, which is pretty much all species' end goal. The end goal is to reproduce, right? And if men and women were enemies, that wouldn't work, because the end goal requires them to come together. And if they're enemies, they can't do that. Rather, it's always been men competing against each other to become the best, and then women choosing. It's always been that for thousands of years. It's always been men versus men and women versus women. Why is makeup a thing? Why are filters a thing? Why are plastic surgeries a thing? Because women want to look prettier. Women want to elevate their physical appearance so that they appear more appealing to men. More appealing to men over other women. It's always been women versus other women. For men, it's like, why do you want to get rich? Because you want to signify that you have money, that you can take care of a woman, that you are a better prize than other men. Like, as men, it's probably way more likely that your friends are your enemies, that your friends secretly have crushes on who you date, as compared to the women that you date are your true enemies. Like, it's way more likely that your friends are waiting to pounce when you're down, so to speak. I wanted to make this video because there's been a lot of content that I've seen in the past, although maybe not relevant now because it's certainly been a while. But just like, for example, like there was that TikTok girl who was like in the gym recording herself, and then like she was like pointing out to guys who were like staring at her. And it was very adversarial. It was very like, look at this dude, look at this creepy man, like get the fuck away from me. And it's like, that is the environment that you don't want to create. You don't want to create an environment where guys are too afraid to talk to you whatsoever. Like, I understand, like, you don't want guys to leer, right? I get that. But by posting that, right, it's like, you create an environment where men and women are enemies. And that certainly does not help you if you want to find someone. If you want to be in a relationship, that does not help you whatsoever. It doesn't. It makes men less willing to approach. And well, if you aren't getting approached, are you going to approach? Most likely not. most women will not approach or ever approach, because it's just not how they do things. It's culturally, biologically, women are not the ones who approach. Women are the choosers. That is how it's always been. Just be more friendly. Just be more kind. Men and women don't need to be enemies. We can be friends. We don't need to be on two different sides of a war, secretly hoping that we'll get together. It's like, that doesn't need to happen. That doesn't need to be the way things are. It just doesn't. Because men and women aren't enemies. Your brother is your enemy. Your quote brother in arms. Your sister in arms is your enemy.